but I may crash halfway in between it. Anyway, KFI, PHC for ID.
Yeah, that Cert City net last night, that was fun, but it kept me up. I'm a little off my game. So, yeah, talk to you later, man. KI5 and LN, 7-3.
W5FC. Meeting on the air first and third Sunday, 7 p.m., W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
This is N5BB, November 5 Bravo Bravo, net control for Skynet. Hang on while I find my script. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we start the net? Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime sky and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in these topics, licensed to operate on this frequency. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. You do not need to be a member of any club to participate. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break in your call sign. This is directed net. Please only transmit at the directions of net control. That would be me and 5BB. Stations are reminded to identify at the end of each transmission. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. I am checked in on Echolink, so if you want to say something to net control, please type it in the text box. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. Again, all amateur operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio organization to participate. The net is 90 minutes long, instruction in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Texas, National Space Society events, the topic of the evening selected by your net control station, What's Up, Space Exploration and Space History, Constellation of the Week, Space Launches of the Week, recent astronomical discoveries, and visible satellite passages over the next few days. Following that, if we have any extra time, we'll have astronomical questions and answers, followed by the 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Now let's start with short time check-ins. If you can't stay the whole net, but you have can only be here for a short time, please come now with your call sign, name, and your location.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Allen, short time.
Very good. So we only have one short time station, N5WOI, William. William, do you have any questions or comments for the net?
N5WI. No, I was just checking in, and I lurk on here and just kind of see what's going on. Sometimes I can't stay the entire time, so that's why I call short time. Thanks for asking. N5WI, back to net.
Very good, William. You're quite welcome to visit or participate. Now let's look for general RF check-ins. Echolink comes later. First, we're going to do general RF check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is Skynet in 5BB net control. Over.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5 Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob Dallas.
Kilo Echo 5, Romeo Lima Romeo, Mike, South Plano.
Kilo Echo 5, India, Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James, North Carrollton. This is
Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert and Richards.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and DeSoto.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich in Rockwall, AG 5 p.m.
Well, I guess that's all it's made it here so far. I'd like to recognize W5GUS. Hello, Gus. KG5UFR. I'm sorry, was your name David, and what was your location?
Good evening. This is KG5 UFR. The name is Jacob, Juliet Alpha, Charlie Oscar Bravo, located here in Dallas. Back to net control, KG5 UFR.
Okay, Jacob. I got you that time, KG5 UFR, Jacob. Jacob, there's a lot of hum on your signal. You may have a power supply going bad. You might want to check it. It's partially covering up your audio. It's very, very strong. Next, I have KE5RLR. Hello, Mike. KE5ICX. Tom. KG5WVL. James, welcome. AE5AH, hi, Robert. KF5ZBL, hi, Bill. WB5OZL, welcome, Brenda. KG5APL, hi, Patrick. And hello, Rich, AG5PM. Do we have any other RF check-ins for Skynet? This is N5BB, net control.
This is November 5, Golf Hotel, Oscar, Lance, and Louisville.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Mike Quebec, Dawson, and University Park.
Okay, I recognize Lance, N5GHO, good evening. And Dawson, KI5KMQ. Do we have any other RF check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB, net control.
This is Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Hotel, Melissa in Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5, Uniform Kilo Uniform, David, Mesquite.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Okay, I recognize Melissa, KI5GRH, David, KG5UKU, and Sean, KB9SOK. Welcome to all. Do we have any other RF check-ins for Skynet? This is N5BB, net control. Okay, over on Echo Link, I see a few stations. W0MBC, Shane. Do you want to check in on voice?
Mike Bravo Charlie, Shane.
And Bethany Blue Springs. Hi, Dallas.
Very good. Hello, Shane. Hello, Bethany in Missouri. W0MBC. Welcome to you. And KF5 PDS. Billy, do you want to check in on voice?
Bill, good evening. This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy, and Sherman.
Good evening, Billy. Okay. N5 IMS, JJ. Do you want to come in on voice, or are you listen mode only? I think JJ must be in listen mode only. K5 KTX. Hello, Kelly. Do you want to come in on voice?
Good evening, everyone. This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray. Kelly, coming to you from the Medina River Winery near Castroville, Texas.
Oh, my. She's out there west of San Antonio out there. Very good, Kelly. K5 KTX. Hope there's some telescopes out there. If you don't drink too much wine to use the telescope, you may get distracted by the wine. Let's see, KG5BZWJ, do you want to check in on voice?
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J. Now, Weatherford.
Very good. I recognize J, KG5BZW. And then KI5BNP. Luis just came in. Hello there, Luis. You can just listen if you want to, but if you'd like to, come in and check in on voice.
Good evening, everybody. This is KI5BMP, Luis from in Fort Worth.
Very good, Luis. Welcome to you. Okay. Do we have anybody I've missed that'd like to check in to Skynet via any mode? This is N5BB, net control.
Kilo India 5, Juliet Charlie Mike Thomas in Euless.
Kilo Alpha 5, Zulu Tango Papa, Kyle and Anna.
I recognize KI5JCM, hello Thomas, KI5ZTP, Kyle. Do we have any other stations that would like to check in to Skynet? If so, please come down. Okay, so far we have 25 check-ins. Next, do we have any general announcements? This is anything involving amateur radio that might be of general interest, or space that may be of general interest, or astronomy to the people in the meeting here, and the net. So if you have any general announcements, please come down with your call sign only. This is N5BB, Skynet. Nothing heard. I've got one general announcement. The Dallas Races meeting is going to be tomorrow night on this repeater at 8 p.m. Tony and T5TM suggest that anybody checking into that net do so on emergency power if you possibly can, and give a one-word description of what kind of emergency power, such as battery. Again, that's tomorrow on the Races net at 8 p.m. on this frequency. One other general announcement, the Irving Amateur Radio Club has a microgrant project we're extending again this year. So last year we gave out 8 grants for a little over $8,000 to local clubs in Dallas County and the surrounding counties. We're doing the same thing this year. The deadline for getting the applications in is today, unless people ask for an extension. And the Dallas Amateur Radio Club made an application, but it has an extension because they're going to vote on it at the Tuesday night board meeting. But if you know of any other clubs that haven't made their application yet, please send it in tonight or send me a description of how long and why you'd like an extension. You can send it to N5BB, November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net. I think that's all the announcements I have. Are there any questions or any other announcements? This is N5BB, Skynet. Nothing heard and nothing on Echolink. Next, AMSAT has 2 local nets available here, although there are also Echolink nets. There's a net on Tuesday evenings, normally at 8 p.m. on this repeater. However, there is no net on the first Tuesday of every month because there's a conflict with the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting. So on all other Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. on this frequency, AMSAT net, and another AMSAT net in Arlington, on the Arlington 147.14 repeater, at 9 p.m. on Wednesday. So again, these are AMSAT nets talking about amateur satellites. Tuesday night, 8 p.m., this net, this frequency. And Wednesday night, 9 p.m. on the Arlington 147.14 megahertz repeater. There's a lot of other nets here on this repeater. We have on Mondays, ham fixings, MCOM 101, ham fixings. On the 4th week, a geek net. And if there is a 5th week, a surprise net. So come by on Monday evenings at 7 o'clock on this frequency to get one of those nets. On Fridays, there's the CERT City Simulation Net, normally at 7:30 p.m. on Fridays. On Saturdays, we have the Night of Nets. 7 p.m., we have TechNet. 9 p.m., this net, Skynet. And at 10:30, we have Afterglow. And the movie tonight is the Andromeda Strain. Tom, do you want to give us a short synopsis of what's going to be happening at 10:30 this evening? KE5ICX, N5BB.
Oh, why, yes, Bill. I forgot to put it in the script. Hold on. Stand by 5. I got it here because it's really important. There's a... Hold on.
I'll break the secrecy code and say, beware flashing red lights.
Yeah, no kidding, Bill. Well, what? Wait a minute. Where? Oh, here it is. I found it. I think I found it. Maybe not. Oh, yeah. Oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. Actually, this is a rerun from several years ago. Welcome to Piedmont, New Mexico. Population 2. A team of scientists pick up a child, an old man, and a multi-million-dollar satellite blocking traffic, whose right turn blinker had been flashing for over 100 million miles. Dr. Charles Dutton and his team begin their investigation of a super-secret satellite, Scope 7, and immediately ascertain what it contains, an organism from outer space. The team demands the organism freeze and put its hands in the air, but no dice. It just sits there killing lab mice and playing canasta. Oh, jeez, this amateur radio thing is very complicated. The team demands the organism. I'll get this right. And put its hands in the air, but no dice. It just sits there killing lab mice. Nice. Hold on. All right, there's a million distractions. The team demands the organism freeze and put its hands in the air, but no dice. It just sits there killing lab mice and playing canasta without a care in the world. The long-established alien intervention guides are no help either. When the scientists try snapping handcuffs on the intruder, what will the team do to stop this alien menace? How can you talk an alien organism to death, Captain Kirk style, when it doesn't even have ears? Join us for the accidental alien invasion, the Andromeda Strain, tonight at 10:30 p.m. Now, why did I have so much trouble with it? Well, actually, I wrote this like 3 years ago, and I just read it tonight, so give me a break. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Well, very good, Tom. I'm glad you got your organisms organized. Talk about confusing. Unintentionally. This is N5BB and Skynet. I noticed there are one other station, KG5ZMG, that came in on Echolink. Joe, do you want to check in on voice?
That would be great. This is Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Mike. I just forgot my call sign. It's Tom's fault. Joe in Arlington. Thanks.
Oh boy, Joe, Tom has really confused you. Yeah, KG5ZMG. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the net. Okay, I'd also like to remind everybody that in addition to the nets I've already mentioned, at 6:30 p.m. on every night, except for the first Tuesday of the month, there is the traffic net, the DFW early traffic net on this frequency. On the first Tuesday of the month, the early traffic net meets on the Irving 146.72 megahertz repeater, and it also meets at 10:30 p.m. every night on the Irving 146.72 repeater. Both this repeater and the Irving repeater have a PL tone of 110.9 hertz. There's also a daily lunch bunch net Monday through Friday at noon on this repeater. So I think I've gone through just about all the important nets. Oh, we also have Racy's nets on the first and third Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. And before the Racy's nets at 7 p.m., we have the Dallas Amateur Radio Club net on the air, which is going to be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on this frequency. So as you can see, we're a very busy club with a lot of nets and activity here on this repeater and DFW in general. Do we have any questions, comments, or any additional check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB, your net control.
This is November 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Clay in Mesquite.
Hello, Clay. I recognize N5OF. Welcome. Okay, we've talked about the Afterglow net at 10:30, or about there, and Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. So I don't believe Chaz is here. Is there anybody on frequency that would like to talk about the TAS? If so, please come now with your call sign.
Five KTX.
Hi, Kelly. Go right ahead and tell us everything you know about what's going on with the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas this week. Over.
This is K5KTX. Good evening to everyone. Well, your astronomy resource in the Dallas area is the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. And unfortunately, we're not able to do very much in person at the moment, but we are continuing with our monthly meetings, which are still on the fourth Friday of every month, except for November, when it's usually the third Friday, and then we don't have a meeting in December. Now, our last meeting was last Friday on April the 23rd. I think Chaz talked about it a little bit, but it was a fantastic presentation with Dr. Erin McDonald, who is the science consultant for the Star Trek universe. And she talked about the physics of Star Trek, and so it was very, very fascinating and interesting, and she has a number of other projects that she's working on. Our next meeting in May, I believe, I couldn't find a confirmation on this, but I believe there's going to be a presentation about our dark site in Oklahoma. And so it's not going to be our traditional speaker, but again, we do have some really great speakers, and the meeting starts at 7:30 p.m. via Zoom right now. And you do have to be a member in order to participate in those meetings due to the limited number of seats available on the Zoom call. But they are great meetings, and we also normally would have star parties every Saturday night somewhere in the Dallas area. But again, those have been put on hold for now due to COVID. But hopefully, very soon, we'll be able to pick those back up again. And we will announce those here when we start those again. But it's a great place to learn about telescopes and to see some things in the night sky. It's amazing what you can see even in the city. And so I think that's it. If you'll go to texasastro.org, there's a lot of great information there. Like if you're interested in purchasing a new telescope, there's some great information there about what to look for and what types of telescopes are available, and just a host of other information. So texasastro.org, and I think that's it. This is K5KTX. Back to you, Bill.
Very good, Kelly. Thank you very much for that update. Does anyone have any questions or comments? If so, please come now. Okay. Next, unfortunately, you have to listen to net control for a while. So first, I'm going to talk about the National Space Society North Texas chapter. Our website is nssofnt.org. We also have a Facebook page, National Space Society of North Texas. And unfortunately, we're kind of late at updating these things, especially the website, because we're transitioning the website to a new host, essentially. We're having a little difficulty getting everything up to date. But so I cannot remember, I should know, but I can't remember what the subject is of our May meeting. We meet on the second Sunday afternoons of every month. The coming meeting, the one in May, is going to be on May the 9th at 4 p.m. It will be virtual on WebEx. If you want to get a guest pass to the meeting, you can contact me, space@byrom.net, that's S-P-A-C-E, at BYROM.net, or N5BB@ARRL.net. Either way reaches me. And tell me you'd like to visit National Space Society May meeting. Our April meeting was a very interesting one. It was with NASA new flight director, Brendan Lloyd, and he shared insights into his role and his education and all kinds of neat things. So that was very neat. We also had a NASA person in December where Amy Ross described the spacesuit samples that are on the test target for the Sherlock instrument on the Perseverance rover currently on Mars. And if you look around websites, you'll see pictures of that target with those spacesuit samples. They're located on there so that they can see how those spacesuit materials hold up in the Mars environment. Really neat idea. Send your spacesuit materials to Mars long before you send humans to Mars in those materials. And also, they'll kind of see how they work on the moon, because it's got a similar problem with very low pressure, essentially zero on the moon. Lots of, cosmic rays and ultraviolet light and micrometeorites. Okay, so that's National Space Society. Does anyone have any questions about National Space Society in general? This is N5BB. Go ahead. Nothing heard. This is Skynet and N5BB net control, and now we have the discussion topic of the evening by me, because I'm net control. And the name of my topic is Ingenuity Loves Mars. That's right, Ingenuity loves Mars. What a neat quote. I quoted that from the Mars helicopter project manager, Mimi Ong. She said this on a NASA news conference yesterday. I was watching a news conference on NASA TV. And if you haven't seen one of these, Mimi has as much energy as a Saturn V. I'll tell you, she just is a bundle of energy. You can't help but be infected about how exciting the Mars project is. When she talks, she uses her hands continuously, especially because her her mask won't stay up. It's not tight enough, and she has to keep adjusting it. But she is just really excited about the project, and it's very infectious. Anyway, Ingenuity I'm going to talk about tonight. What is Ingenuity? Well, if you've been hiding under a rock on Mars and haven't heard, it's the Mars rover. So Ingenuity was tucked under the bottom of the Perseverance Mars rover. It was sent to Mars on the Mars 2020 project, landed in the, 7 minutes of terror, or however many minutes it is. It was dropped, kind of like laying an egg, from Perseverance. Perseverance then drove away, and then the Ingenuity Mars robot, a helicopter, has made 4 flights so far. The last one was yesterday morning. All 4 have been just as close to perfect as can be announced. I haven't heard a single thing that they've announced that was out of nominal. Every single thing was just perfect. In fact, it was so perfect that they're changing their plans. So the original plans was in the first 30 sols, that's Martian days, of Perseverance being on Mars, they were going to run the Ingenuity helicopter 5 times. And that was going to be it, because the Mars, the Perseverance rover needed to drive away and do other things. However, the first 4 flights were so good that they've changed their plans. And this was announced at a news conference yesterday, which again is the one I listened to. And what they announced is that they are going to change the Ingenuity project from being a technology demonstration to a operational demonstration. And so what that means is they are going to try to use the Ingenuity helicopter to do some science and to do some assistance for the Perseverance rover project. So the Ingenuity helicopter is not going to be just a sidekick there to prove it can work. It's already done that. They're going to get it doing real things. And they didn't want to plan for this initially because they didn't want to delay the project. However, it turns out that the science team on Perseverance has found there are a lot of rocks nearby, very close to where they currently are, that need to be examined. And this is going to take like a month. So because of that, they're going to, well, number one, they're going to fly the helicopter in another few days, a 5th time. And what it's going to do is it's going to land at a different location. Their current location has been called Wright Field, after, of course, the Wright brothers. And they're going to make a new field. They're right now figuring out where it's going to be. And so it's going to make another flight. And this 5th flight is going to take some more photographs of different things along the path. And it's going to land at this new location. And then Perseverance is going to do its thing using the Sherlock instrument to zap rocks and make all kinds of other measurements. And then it's going to move down the path to where they're going. And they probably are going to leapfrog it, and so keep Ingenuity, keep it reasonably close to Perseverance. They believe they can go about 1 kilometer before they'll lose radio contact. They believe 1 kilometer is, sufficient. So that's what they plan to do. This is a big change. Everybody wanted this, but nobody was willing to really say they were going to do it, but now they are. Then, so there's going to be a 5th flight here within another couple of weeks or so. Well, let's listen to that. Probably this next week there'll be a 5th flight. And then they'll plan on doing a couple of flights in the next month, during the month of May, additional flights. They're essentially planning each flight after the previous one right now. So again, as you might be able to tell from my voice, this is really, really exciting. The Perseverance rover, the Ingenuity helicopter is limited so far. They've limited it to a 2-minute flight, 120 seconds. The reason is not the battery. They've got plenty of extra charge in the battery. The reason is the motors get hot. The density of the atmosphere on Mars is very, very low. And so it's hard to dissipate the heat from the motors because there's a lot of power going through these motors. And so the helicopter blades have to go very rapidly in the very thin Martian atmosphere. So currently they've been limiting the flights to 120 seconds because of concerns over the motor temperatures. If that proves not to be as much a problem, they might try some longer flights. Currently they've been going no higher than about 5 meters, about 16 feet. And one of the reasons that's a sweet spot is that they can get really good pictures of the ground from that height. If they go too much higher, which they can do, but if they go too much higher, they won't get as much resolution as they want of the ground. And their navigation system and other cameras won't work as well. This is N5BB Skynet talking about the Ingenuity helicopter on Mars. JJ made a very rude comment over on Echolink, which I'm not going to repeat. Touché, JJ. So on the last flight on Friday, the new helicopter flew 117 seconds. The round-trip distance was 872 feet, 266 meters. That's pretty good. The altitude was 5 meters, about 16 and a half feet. The top speed was 8 miles per hour. It's really zipping along. They programmed it to capture 60 downward-facing black and white navigation camera photos and 5 return-to-Earth side-facing color photos. The side-facing color camera is angled down at 20 degrees from the horizon, and 22 degrees. And the color camera is very high resolution. It is 4208 by 3120 pixels. So it's a 13 megapixel camera. Very good color. It's going to take a while to download all these photos to Earth, so it may be another few days before they can post them. What they plan to do is try to make some stereo photos, a stereo map of the local area, so that, which will be really cool for us to look at. But the science team can also look at it, and the driver, to figure out where they're going to take up their samples. So right now they are planning for the main mission of the Perseverance rover, the Mars 2020, to go and take some samples of Mars, put in some sample return capsules, which in a few years will be captured and flown back to Earth, which is by far the most ambitious robotic project that will have been, attempted to that date. If you haven't noticed, there's probably everybody in this net has. There's great photos online and videos showing the Ingenuity helicopter taking off and landing, and lots of good stuff. NASA already is learning a lot about the flight control and aerodynamic performance. And they did some of this in a vacuum chamber on Earth. But now they have detailed graphs of the rotor power during the flights, showing the spin up, the takeoff, the hover, the descent, the spin down after landing. And the spike, the very highest instantaneous power during takeoff, was 310 watts. And the motors, the batteries can tolerate a spike as high as 510 watts. So they're well below their capability. They're within a very safe zone. The horizontal position is hovering with a very small amount of error. So again, the whole system's working just excellent. Okay, that's all I've got. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the Ingenuity project and Perseverance in general? This is N5BB, Skynet, net control.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey.
K5JDW, John, we'll check you in. You have any comments or questions?
No, sir, actually just wanted to check in, but yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I do like some of those graphs they put up. You actually see those blades turning about 2,400 RPM. Pretty, and then you see the height that goes. It's pretty cool watching those little graphs that NASA puts out. K5JDW.
Yes. The helicopter team is actually more excited probably by the engineering performance. They've got this thing with a lot of telemetry because they want to figure out exactly how it works. You know, they weren't sure if it was really going to work correctly, but they want to figure this out completely so that they can design future helicopters to work on other planets. Right now, they're working on one that will be going to, now I'm forgetting, is it Triton? Oh, who remembers? What is the helicopter that's going to a moon of another planet? Oh, I should remember. I guess nobody else does either. I think it is Triton. Tom thinks that also. Anyway, they're starting on that project, and that team is interested in learning everything from the Ingenuity team that's, has a successful helicopter the first time out. This is really amazing because it's worked so well. And everything has been well within the danger zone, Nothing's been dangerous about the, so far, they're still doing, scary things. Okay, let's move ahead. Now by the way, they tried to record sound yesterday morning, but all those files have not been come down yet. Last time I checked a couple of hours ago, they did not have any photos or sound from yesterday's mission yet. It takes them a while to get them transferred to Earth, and then it takes them a while to go in and process them so they're suitable for us to look at. But they have 2 microphones on the Perseverance rover, and they're hoping to get the sound of the helicopter flying. It would be amazing if they could get stereo sound of that helicopter flying. Again, this is all an incredibly exciting project. I hope you're excited as I am and the team is. Next, it's the Was Up, normally from Chaz. Tom, I think you were going to do What's Up? Go ahead, Tom. If it's not you, tell us who does it. N5BB, Skynet.
Well, thank you, Bill. And this is KE5ICX. And yes, he's out in West Texas somewhere, wandering the prairie. So for the next 3 weeks, you got me. Or somebody else, who knows? But here we go with What's Up. Now, I steal all my material when that happens from earthsky.org/tonight. So this is what we've got. Moon sweeps by Saturn and Jupiter on May 3rd through 5th. And I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the screen, and you can find it as links on w5fc.org. All right, Eta Aquinid meteor shower picks up steam these next few mornings. That's May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Watch for the waning moon to sweep past the ring planet Saturn and then the giant planet Jupiter. On May 3rd, the moon passes due south of Saturn to stage a conjunction only a few hours before the moon reaches its half-illuminated last quarter phase. A little over 1 day after the Moon-Saturn conjunction, the moon will sweep due south of the king planet Jupiter. Meanwhile, as for boy, lots of prepositional phrases. As for Neptune, although we show you its location on our chart, and I'm showing you the chart online. Here's some astronomy jargon for you. Technically speaking, the moon is said to be a dichotomy when it appears half illuminated to us, yet a quadrature when the moon is 90 degrees from the sun on the sky's dome. The two events, dichotomy and quadrature, almost happen concurrently, at least as far as the moon is concerned. At the first or last quarter phase, the half-illuminated last quarter moon is synonymous with west quadrature, that is, with the moon being 90 degrees west of the sun. In a common usage, many think of dichotomy and quadrature as synonyms. Yet, did you know that the quarter moon is always a tiny bit more than 50% illuminated? It is around 50.13% illuminated in the last quarter phase. Such a small amount, more than 50% of the difference, isn't visibly discernible. The moon reaches its last quarter phase, the west quadrature, or 90 degrees west of the sun, on May 3rd. Not to be outdone, Saturn reaches the west quadrature, you try and say this stuff, on this date as well. Thus, we can see the moon near Saturn in the sky. A quadrature, the Sun-Earth-Saturn angle, equals 90 degrees, with Earth residing at the vertex of this angle. Unlike the moon, Saturn does not appear even close to half illuminated at quadrature. That's because Saturn is a superior planet orbiting outside of Earth's orbit, and all superior planets always appear full or nearly full, never half illuminated as seen from Earth. For some telescopic enthusiasts, Saturn is quadrature, 90 degrees west of the sun, is a celebrated event. That's because Saturn's shadow appears maximally sideways from Saturn at quadrature, providing the best view of Saturn's shadow crossing using its glorious rings. The moon is exactly half illuminated at dichotomy, yet a tiny bit more than half illuminated at quadrature or quarter moon. The moon always reaches dichotomy, or 50% illumination, a short while before its first quarter phase, and the moon always reaches its last quarter phase shortly before dichotomy. Depending on the month, the time period between dichotomy and quadrature can vary anywhere from 15 to 21 minutes. when the moon is at quadrature, or quarter phase, in Earth's sky, then it's the Earth that's at dichotomy in the moon's sky. The converse is also true. When the Earth is at quadrature, or quarter phase, in the moon's sky, then it's the moon that's at dichotomy in Earth's sky. Unlike superior planets and inferior planets, planets orbiting the sun inside of Earth's orbit display dichotomy at certain points in their orbits, yet the inferior planets, that would be Mercury and Venus inside of our orbit position, never reach quadrature in Earth's sky as superior planets do. Inferior planets never go as far as 90 degrees from the sun. At most, Mercury swings 28 degrees from the sun in Earth's sky, and Venus 47 degrees. All right, I gotta tell you something. Those are multi-syllabic words that are really hard to say over and over and over again. So, if you want to learn more, go to, let me see, where do you have to go to? Hold on. You have to go to earthsky.org/tonight to find out all about this and figure it all out. Wow. Back to net control. KE5ICX.
Oop, I was distracted. Are you finished, Tom?
Oh, in more ways than one. Go ahead. KE5ICX.
I apologize. Something distracted here for just a moment. I suddenly noticed you were talking. I apologize. This is N5BB. Does anybody have any comments or questions about what's up? Okay, this is N5BB. Skynet. Do we have any late check-ins? Time for space exploration and space history. Let's see. I don't know if it's Brenda or Kelly. Whose turn is it this week? Brenda, you or Kelly, whoever it is, go now. This is N5BB, net control.
This is WV50ZL. It's my turn this week for space exploration in history. On exploration, I had done a short segment on Ingenuity, but I think I will forego that since you gave it such a good coverage in your article. So moving on, big news this week is the ISS crew change. 4 SpaceX crew astronauts are making final preparations ahead of the return to Earth this weekend. Some of the expedition 65 crew members staying behind on the International Space Station are relaxing, and others are focusing on science and lab maintenance. So, Resilience will undock from the Harmony module's Spacefaring International docking adapter during an automated maneuver on Saturday at 8:35 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if that happened. I have not kept up with it, so maybe somebody can give us an update. Anyway, it'll splash down 6.5 hours later in the Gulf of Mexico. I think I'll cut this short, too. I've got a lot of names here, and you probably all know their names. Next up, the Pyongyang 1 space station, the Chinese out-of-control space station, will crash down to Earth in the next few weeks as its orbit deteriorates. The scientists note It poses little danger to humans as it is expected to break up upon re-entering our atmosphere. Launched in 2011 is China's first space station. Tiangong-1, meaning Heavenly Palace, was used as a manned laboratory for testing docking capabilities for 2 years. It had originally been scheduled to be deorbited in 2013. In 2016, China lost control of the 9-ton station and has been unable to keep its orbit from deteriorating. Since determining the exact amount of deterioration is difficult, current predictions are that it will return to Earth between March 29th and April 9th. I think this is out of date. Those are just educated guesses. Where it will fall will not be known until evidence of reentry is new. All right, we've got a new stuffed toy celebrity. His name is Gwen. He's the zero-G indicator that has gone to the ISS. He is a stuffed penguin. Next, we were all saddened by the death of Michael Collins. He flew on Gemini 10 and Apollo 11 missions. He passed away on April 28th this week. Quote, today the nation lost a true pioneer and lifelong advocate for exploration and astronaut Michael Collins. As pilot of the Apollo 11 command module, some call him the loneliest man in history. While his colleagues walked on the moon for the first time, he helped our nation achieve a defining milestone. He also distinguished himself in the Gemini program and as an Air Force pilot. Michael remained a tireless promoter of space. Exploration is not a choice, really. It's an imperative, he said. Intensely thoughtful about his experience in orbit, he added, what would be worth recording is what kind of civilization we Earthlings created and whether or not we ventured out into other parts of the galaxy. In his statement, his family said, Mike always faced the challenges of life with grace and humility and faced this, his final challenge, in the same way. We will miss him terribly, yet we also know how lucky Mike felt to have lived the life he did. And the SLS core stage has been moved. It has been relocated to the NASA Stennis Space Center in Mississippi, from there to Kennedy's Launch Complex 13 turn base in Wharf. The core stage is shown being transported, I guess there's a visual, into the iconic vehicle assembly building on a self-propelled mobile transporter on April 29th. Teams from the Center's Exploration Ground Systems and contractor Jacobs will perform checkouts ahead of integrating the massive rocket stage with the twin solid rocket boosters, Orion spacecraft, and additional flight hardware ahead of the Artemis 1 launch. Artemis 1 will be the first integrated test of SLS and Orion and will pave the way for landing the first woman and first person of color on the lunar surface. It will be a proving ground for deep space exploration, leading the agency's efforts under the Artemis program for a sustainable presence on the moon and preparing for human missions to Mars. Birthdays. Michael J. Smith, April 30th, 1945. He flew on STS-1L. Victor Glover, April 30th, 1976. SpaceX Crew 1 Expedition 64-65. Ellen S. Baker, April 27th, 1953. 3 shuttle missions. Paul Lockhart, April 28th, 1956. 2 shuttle missions. Jerome Apt, April 28th, 1949. 4 shuttle missions. Dwayne G. Carey, April 30th, 1957, STS-109. John Oliver Creighton, April 28th, 1943, 3 shuttle missions. And Scott Carpenter, May 1st, 1925, Mercury Atlas 7. And this week in space history, Space Lab. This week in 1993, Space Shuttle Columbia mission STS-55 launched from NASA's Kennedy Space Center carrying an international crew of 7 in support of the Space Lab D2 mission. D2 became the second Space Lab flight under German mission management. 2 teams performed around-the-clock operations, conducting 88 experiments covering materials and life sciences, technology applications, Earth observations, astronomy, and atmospheric physics. NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center was responsible for managing the Space Lab missions. Today, the Payload Operations Integration Center at Marshall serves as Science Central for the ISS, working 24/7, 365 days a year, in support of the orbiting laboratory science experiments. After 20 years of continuous human presence, the space station remains the sole space-based proving ground and stepping stone toward achieving the goals of the Artemis program. And on April 30th, 2015, NASA's Messenger mission to Mercury came to an end when the spacecraft intentionally crashed into the surface of the small rocky planet. Messenger was the first spacecraft to orbit Mercury, and the second spacecraft to study it up close after NASA's Mariner 10 flew by the planet in the 1970s. Messenger spent 4 years orbiting Mercury. During that time, it mapped the surface of Mercury in unprecedented detail. The mission discovered water ice and organic compounds around Mercury's North Pole. It also found that Mercury has a weird offset magnetic field that doesn't line up with its axis of rotation. The mission was only supposed to last 1 year, but NASA extended it twice so it could continue its groundbreaking observations of Mercury. It eventually ran out of fuel, so NASA intentionally crashed it into Mercury, where it created a new crater. All right, back to Nat, WB5OZL.
Thank you, Brenda. This is Skynet in 5BB Net Control. Do we have any questions or comments about the previous section? Okay, moving right along. Do we have any late check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. Station calling has absolutely zero audio. Please try again. Okay, station calling is calling on RF, and your microphone's not working at all. We hear nothing. So I apologize, but we're going to have to ignore you since we can't understand who you are. Next, I'm trying to see okay. Tom is going to talk about Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week. Go ahead, Tom, KU5ICX and 5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. This is KE5ICX, and I am Tom. And Chaz is off going to the Texas Star Party in West Texas. And I think he's taking an extended vacation and will be there for 3 weeks or somewhere out in West Texas. Who knows? So he mentioned that last Saturday, so we're going to fill in. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is something that Chaz has been bringing now for the last couple of years. So I had to find something really quick to figure out what are we going to do. So we'll talk about the night sky and how to find constellations. This comes from a website. Let's see here. Trying to figure it out. At any rate, I'll let you know as soon as I find it. So I stole this material from elsewhere. And this is what it is. How to find constellations in the sky. Using a star map with your best bet for assisting in finding where to look for constellations, depending on your location and time of year. It's difficult depending on where you live and on the seasons. So you use something like Astro Viewer. I don't know what that is, but I guess it's good. That lets you enter your location and gives you customized star map. Another good one is Star Map. Well, what a surprise. Which also has an iOS app, and you can download it via, PDF, and print them so you can take the maps outside so you can look at things. Something like Google Sky can also help you practice identifying shapes of the constellations. Other than a star map, all you need is a dark sky. Boy, oh boy, that's tough here. And for extra visual aid, a pair of binoculars or a telescope. I have to admit, binoculars, I think, are the best way to go for most observing, even in light polluted areas like here. With the naked eye, you see basic outlines, but with binoculars or a telescope, you'll see fainter stars and other features like nebulae and star clusters. When you're out observing, you'll want to generally orient yourself towards the North Star, and you know what to do. Look up in the north, and you'll see that thing. We've done this before. While below, he says, I note the best viewed month for each constellation. Many are visible for at least 6 months out of the year, just not quite as vividly. The constellations just below the famous and most visible to the naked eye in the northern hemisphere. Here we go. What are the 5 constellations? Well, let's see. Aquarius is one. Oh, by the way, this is KE5ICX. And if you're looking at the video, you can see Aquarius, and this is what it says. Old man with a stick and a big vessel representing different birth stars. This drawing, as well as those below, well, I don't know, there's just one. Sidney Hall's set of drawings called Uranus Mirror, published in 1824. The set contains 32 star charts and cards depicting 79 constellations, many of which are no longer recognized or are considered sub-constellations. The illustrations are based on what's viewable from Great Britain, making them fairly similar to what you see in the States. Latin for water carrier or cup carrier. This is Aquarius. While one of the biggest and most famous and oldest named constellations, Aquarius is faint and often hard to see. In Greek mythology, Aquarius represented Ganymede, a very handsome young man. Zeus recognized the lad's good looks and invited Ganymede to Mount Olympus to be the cupbearer of the gods. For his service, he was granted eternal youth, as well as a place in the night sky. And they talk about Aquarius in the sky. Despite its prominent position and large size, you can see that Aquarius doesn't really have a defining features, nor does it contain any bright stars. The protruding line at the right of Aquarius' right arm and the large downward shape being a combination of the water flowing down out of the face and his shape being a combination of water being the right leg. While not the entire constellation, what's drawn above is what you're most likely to see in the night sky. You won't see this one in the city. You'll need a dark sky to find the cupbearer. All right, I've got 4 more to go, but here's Aquila, which is, let's see, along, oh, geez, it's missing half the thing. Aquila along Delphinius and Sagittarius are displayed. Oh, they're the nearby constellations. Delphinius on the left is still recognized as a constellation, but quite small and faint. Sagitta and the bow and arrow is considered an ancient constellation. Best viewed in the late summer in September, Aquila was the eagle that in Greek mythology actually bore gametes up to Mount Olympus. All right, I'm trying to figure out that sentence. The eagle was also the thunderbolt carrier for Zeus. Then it says representation of Aquila in the sky. This constellation lies in the Milky Way band, and its most prominent star is Altair, which is actually one of the closest naked eye stars to Earth. The top portion of Aquila forms a shadow or an inverted V, with Altair nearly at the point. This represents the head and wings of the eagle. The line then descends from Altair, which forms the body of the eagle. Okay, I'm going to stop there because, quite frankly, it's actually 10:18, so I'm going to move on. So I'll give you Aries, Canis Major, and Cassiopeia coming up next week. I think that's what we'll do. Yes, I had to fill this in and figure out what to do, so who knew how long it would take. So I'll go back to net control. We'll cover those next 3 constellations next week. This is KE5 ICX back to net control. Although I guess I'm next. But go ahead, net control. KE5 ICX.
Okay, Tom, net control was in the next room, but I ran back in here. Thank you very much. Next, as you can see, a lot going on in space. Brenda, how about some recent astronomical discoveries? WB50ZL and 5dB.
All right, this is WB50ZL. Give me just a second to pull it up. Okay, the title here is Icy Clouds Could Have Kept Early Mars Warm Enough for Rivers and Lakes. One of the great mysteries of modern space science is neatly summed up by the view of NASA's Perseverance, which just landed on Mars. Today it's a desert planet, and yet the rover is sitting right next to an ancient river delta. The apparent contradiction has puzzled scientists for decades, especially because at the time that Mars had flowing rivers, it was getting less than a third as much sunshine as we enjoy today on Earth. But a new study led by University of Chicago planetary scientist Edwin Kite, an assistant professor of geophysical sciences and an expert on climates of other worlds, uses a computer model to put forth a promising explanation. Mars could have had a thin layer of icy, high-altitude clouds that caused a greenhouse effect. There's been an embarrassing disconnect between our evidence and our ability to explain in terms of physics and chemistry, said Kite. This hypothesis goes a long way toward closing that gap. While the multiple explanations scientists had previously put forth, none have ever quite worked. For example, some suggested that a collision from a huge asteroid could have released enough kinetic energy to warm the planet. But other calculations showed this effect would only last a year or two, and the tracks of ancient rivers and lakes show that the warming likely persisted for at least hundreds of years. Kite and his colleagues wanted to revisit an alternate explanation. High-altitude clouds like cirrus on Earth. Even a small amount of clouds in the atmosphere can significantly raise a planet's temperature, a greenhouse effect similar to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The idea had first been proposed in 2013, but had been largely set aside because, Kite said, it was argued they would only work if the clouds had implausible properties. For example, the models suggested that water would have to linger for a long time in the atmosphere, much longer than it typically does on Earth. So the whole prospect seemed unlikely. Using a 3D model of the entire planet's atmosphere, Kite and his team went to work. The missing piece they found was the amount of ice on the ground. If there was ice covering large portions of Mars, that would create surface humidity that favors low-altitude clouds, which aren't thought to warm planets very much, or can even cool them because clouds reflect sunlight away from the planet. But if there are only patches of ice, such as at the poles and at the tops of mountains, air on the ground becomes much drier. These conditions favor a high layer of clouds that tend to warm planets more easily. The model results showed that scientists may have to discard some crucial assumptions based on our own particular planet. In the model, these clouds behave in a very un-Earth-like way, said Kite. Building models on Earth-based intuition just won't work because it's not at all similar to Earth's water cycle, which moves water quickly between the atmosphere and the surface. Here on Earth, where water covers almost 3/4 of the surface, water moves quickly and unevenly between ocean and atmosphere and land, moving in swirls and eddies that means some places are mostly dry, the Sahara, and others are drenched, the Amazon. In contrast, even at the peak of its habitability, Mars had much less water on its surface. When water vapor winds up in the atmosphere in Kite's model, it lingers. This article goes on, and we are really about out of time, so I'm going to let it go there. This is from ScienceDaily.com. This is WB50ZL. Back to net.
Thank you very much, Brenda, WB50ZL. And the net, N5BB, Skynet Net Control. Do we have any late check-ins? If so, please come down.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power.
Kilo 5, Alpha, November Echo. This is Kane in Richardson.
Kilo Golf 5, Sierra, Quebec, Julia, Mom, Internet.
Okay, hold. There was a double there. I got a KG5 with the name of Bob. Bob, please check in again.
Yes, sir. This is Kilo Golf 5, Sierra, Quebec, Julia, Bob, Internet.
Okay, Bob, what was the city again?
I'm actually in Aneta, which is about 3 miles southwest of Aledo, which is about 8 miles west of Fort Worth.
Ah, very good. Maybe still barely in Tarrant County. I recognize KG5SQJ, K5ANE, hello Kane, WB4MFI. Good to hear your voice, Ted. There was another double in there. Who is doubling? Please try again. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Whiskey Delta 5, Baker Alpha X-ray, Alpha 0.6.
WD5BAX in Wills Point. What was your name again?
Correction. Whiskey Delta 5, Baker Alpha X-ray.
Oh, is that Bobby?
Correct. I was the station that had no modulation earlier. I switched out radios to another radio that has full power.
Okay, Bobby. Well, we hear you, but you're very noisy, so you're just barely making it. WD5BPX, glad you can make it, Bobby. Okay, do we have any other late check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB, net control. Tom, are there any important visible satellite passages that we need to talk about?
Thank you, Bill. Not really. Actually, it's very meager. There's an X-37B past, the winged unmanned really shuttle that's up in orbit. Super secret. May 3rd has one. But that's it. I go to heavens-above.com and plug in your longitude and latitude, get the information. And that works for amateur satellites that are in orbit as well, in case you want to make contact that way. So, no, it's actually nothing, man. Nothing. X-37B, May 3rd, that's the only one. Back to net control, KE5ICX.
Very good. Okay, last chance. Any late check-ins or comments before I close the net? This is N5BB, net control, Skynet. Nothing heard. Tonight we had 32 hams participating on the air or an Echolink. Thanks all to those who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit.
Circuits are functioning perfectly.
We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls or send an email to nets@w5fc.org. That's NETS at whiskey5friedchicken.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net, or anytime you want to. Until next Saturday night, this is N5BB, Bill, closing a net at 10:30 p.m., right on time. Returning a net to normal amateur use. 73 to everybody. Enjoy discovering the universe. And Tom, what about the Andromeda Strain? We going to get back here in, 10 minutes? What do you think? K5ICX and 5BB.
Thank Thank you, Bill. There is a fire. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. So run, everyone, and come back for the Andromeda Strain. This is from the 1970 version, not the reboot on TBS, I think it was. But in any case, 5 minutes. Come back then, and hopefully we'll have a net control. I think I know who will do it. It won't be me. Kane. You may be the guy. So come back in 5 minutes for the Andromeda Strain from 1970. That's what we'll be discussing. Back to net control, KE5I6.
Okay, remember there's no flashing red lights allowed. If there are already flashing red lights, the net will come to a halt. See you guys back here. If you don't make it back in 5 minutes, warning, the core will implode. In 5BB, clear.
N5BB, KI5, JCM.
Yes, go ahead, Thomas.
I just wanted to let you know I ran into a cousin of yours, I think. There's an N5BE on the NCTC. So that's November 5, Bravo Echo. What are the odds?
Were you just being funny, or did you really mean it was a cousin? If it's a cousin, what's the person's name?
I was just being metaphorical. It's just someone with that close of a call sign to yours of N5BE. Thought it was amusing, thought I'd let you know.
Well, Bernie Parker, N5BP, is here locally. And in the past, I've known N5BT, and I know N5BA. I've known N5BA for over 30 years. So, yeah, I know a lot of other N5s with B as the first letter of the suffix. But very good. I don't know whether... I'm trying to remember... Don't know if I know any other KI5J something. Anyway, okay, thanks, Thomas. Don't know... When you said N5, did you mean Bravo Echo or Bravo Papa? What was that last character?
Last character was Bravo Echo. Now we just need to find a Bravo Charlie and Bravo Delta, and we can form a club.
Well, yeah. But none of these others got their call sign when I got mine, because I got mine in the special FCC thing before vanity calls, back about 1977, 78. Anyway, let me let you go. We got to get ready for the Afterglow Net coming up real soon now. In 5BB clear. Good evening.
KI5 GCM, clear as well.
I'm looking for a net control. Anyone who would like to be net control? I'm thinking somebody might want to be net control. Maybe a Kane. Anybody want to be net control this evening? Please come now.
A seal is broken in autopsy. Emergency procedures are in effect. A seal is broken in autopsy. Emergency procedures are in effect. K5 A&E.
I have a key, and I'm single. You're in charge. Excellent. This begins in 1 minute and 33 seconds. KE5I6.
Oh no. A minute and 30, well, I guess 28 seconds now? Gosh, that's pretty scary. Anybody got the red key?
What if we're colorblind?
I don't know, the other ones are silver, so the dark one?
Yeah, if you know anybody that's red-green colorblind, this gets really confusing because there's different variants of pigments in different people's genetic things, and they disagree on which is brighter or darker or what the color is. Anyway, N5, I'm not red-green colorblind, but I've got a good friend who is. N5BB.
You're coming a little harsh there. We're just about to start the movie net, so if you want to try and maybe increase your power or move to a better position with your antenna, we'd love to have you on. But yeah, this is K5A&E Net Control with the Afterglow Movie Net, and we're just about to get started in just a second.
Bobby, your point, and at this point, I can't get it up high, and I can't see the antenna. It's strapped to a fence post with a bunch of cords. I've got to get it high before I can get it solid. I'll be quiet. That's it. BPS. Very good.
Anyways, I would love to have you here if you can get in. Hello and welcome to the Afterglow Movie Net here on W5FC. We meet here every week on Saturday evenings, and we talk about fun movies, usually sci-fi movies, and the movie for this week is an awesome one called The Andromeda Strain. Congratulations on surviving the 18,000 days since the release of the Andromeda Strain. Luckily, we managed to eradicate that and get it dropped into the ocean. Hopefully you haven't been swimming in the Pacific recently, otherwise you may have some problems. But yeah, so the Andromeda Strain was a 1971 movie that came out, mystery sci-fi thriller, where a team of top scientists work feverishly in a secret state-of-the-art laboratory to discover what has killed the citizens of a small town and learn how this deadly contagion can be stopped. It's a wonderful sci-fi movie. A 1971 Michael Crichton thriller, actually. The original book came out in the 1960s. It was his first book that was published under his own name. He published a few other before then. Of course, you may know Michael Crichton for Jurassic Park, but gosh, there's a part of me that really thinks, especially now knowing that this is a Michael Crichton movie, this is really one of the finest ones. Lots of great actors in this, and let's get started. So if you'd like to check into this net, once again, this is the Afterglow Movie Net here on W5SC. Let's get going with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, and if you saw the movie or not.
KI5 JCM, Thomas from Euless. I did not watch it this week, but I've seen it many times long ago.
November 5, Bravo Bravo, Bill and Irving. Yes, I saw the movie.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas. Aaron and I both saw the movie.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Mike Quebec, Dawson and University Park. I've never seen it. It's a movie.
Alright, let's stop there for a second. I got KI5, JCM, Thomas, and Euless. Yes, you saw the movie a while ago. November 5, Bravo Bravo, Bill and Irving, and yes, you saw the movie. November Tango 5, Tango Mike, yes, you saw the movie. And KI5, ZMQ, you came in a little bit quiet there. Speak a little bit louder in your mic. I missed your name and if you saw the movie or not.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Mike Quebec. This is Dawson, University Park, and I have not seen the movie yet.
Sorry, one more time with that name.
Name is Dawson, KI5 KMQ.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. This is Brenda in DeSoto, and I did see the movie.
Alrighty, I got Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda, and yes, you saw the movie. Any other check-ins? Come on in with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, and if you saw the movie.
Whiskey Tango Niner Victor, Michael, and I did.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville. Yep, I saw it.
November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa, Tom in Irving, and I've seen it. Not tonight, but I have.
Alright, I heard Whiskey Tango 9 Victor, Michael, who saw the movie, KE5 ICX, Tom in Louisville, and yes, you saw the movie, November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa. I missed your name, sadly, and yes, you saw the movie. Can you come back with your name real quick?
Oh yeah, it's Tom, and I'm here by challenge from last week.
Alrighty, that's how, I thought you were Tom, but then I was like, wait, no, but Tom just checked in, wait, am I? Anyways, anybody else like to check in for the Afterglow Movie Net here on W5SC? Let's go ahead and take a round of Echo Link exclusive people. If you're coming in through the internet, come on in with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, and if you saw the movie or not.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jay near Weatherford, and yes, I've seen the film.
Alrighty, one more call out there. If anybody would like to check into the Afterglow Movie Net here on W5SC, where we're going to talk about the Andromeda Strain, come on in with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, and if you saw the movie.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. I did see the movie.
Alright, I missed the first transmission there. I think that's the same person I was trying to check in earlier. You might need to continue to try and get higher or have more power. I also heard, I think it was KB5 SOK, and I was about to key up to go talk to the person that was having problems transmitting. If they can come back with your name, that'd be great.
Copy. Whiskey Delta 5, Baker, Papa X-Ray. No more power. Can't move the antenna. I have seen the movie.
relay?
Go ahead with the relay.
This is N5BB. That's Bobby in Wills Point, WD5BPX. You know, we just can't understand very well what he's saying, but just wanted to let you know who it was, N5BB.
All right, yeah, sorry to say you're going to have a hard time checking out on this net. We can barely copy on that. Yeah, I don't know what to do. I heard that you couldn't move your antenna, but I don't know. You want to give Echolink a shot? Yeah. I think it was KB5SOK. Can you come back with your name?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Sean in Fort Worth, and yes, I've seen the movie.
All right, I thought that was a KB9. I was like, but wait, 9? We were in Texas. All right, I'm sure there's a good story there. So yeah, one more call. If you'd like to check into the Afterfield Movie Net, come on in with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from, and if you saw the movie or not.
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November, James in Oklahoma. Echolink, and I saw the movie.
Alrighty, got you on here, James. Let's get started. So once again, the normal format of this net is we talk about the plot, and then we talk about the characterizations, and then we talk about special effects or any other notes we have. So let's get started with the plot, and I'll pick some random call signs out of that hat here. Let's start with November Tango 5, Tango Mike. You always have lots of insights. Definitely a good place to start. What do you think of the plot?
Well, thank you very much. Some of these insights are due to Aaron. The plot is a little bit dated because, of course, they're just as much concerned with showing off the technology as they are with showing off the plot. Oh, look, we have these big clunky buttons we can push to see a map of the facility we're in. And that stuff has not aged well. But on the upside, there are parts that do stand up well. Aaron was very sad that they killed the vultures, or tried to with their poison gas at the beginning. But she was very, very proud, and I do concur and support this, that this is one of the few plots where we honestly see people trying to do science, not giving very many long speeches or having fist fights or, much in the way of political argument, but just very straightforwardly, okay, let's gather evidence, let's work hard even if we lose sleep, let's try to pursue these hypotheses. Okay, what do these survivors have in common? Why is a baby like an old man who squeezes alcohol out of chafing dish fuel? What's in common here? What is this organism going to do? What's it capable of? How does it work? What chemicals does it use? They really do honestly show people trying to answer those questions. And on top of that, although I find some things a little inconvenient, like the endless going through levels to get to level 5, that seems a little overwrought to me, they do get some things very realistically right. That 3 cycle per second light is actually the peak danger frequency for epilepsy. This was kind of neat. They actually did that and didn't exaggerate it or gloss over it, and that's just something that happens to people. And yes, there is unwanted prejudice against that even now. So, it was nice to see real people doing science. I was also really proud that, and this touches a bit on character, but it's also part of plot, so often movies that pretend to show distinguished scientists show really attractive young people. There are no attractive 22-year-old elite surgeons. There just aren't.
It takes a long time to be good at something. It takes a lot of work. And so all the elite scientists we saw in this movie were, in fact, kind of older. So I was proud of the setting and the thought, and Aaron was proud of the way that they did the actual science. It's not perfect. I think they had too much exposition, and the plot was a little draggy. But there's a lot to recommend about this, and a lot they got right. Thank you for calling on me, and thank you for being here. NT5TM.
NT5TM, thanks for getting things started. And, I do have to say, yeah, there's definitely times in the plot where it tends to drag on, but I feel like one of the important plot structures here is the idea of the bureaucracy and the machine, and that's kind of what they're trying to showcase in this, I feel. Let's continue on. WV5OZL, what do you think of the plot?
This is WB50ZL. Well, I just absolutely loved it. I just think it's a real cut above most science fiction movies. Of course, Crichton is highly educated, and he's got had an MD degree. Of course, he's dead now. So he understood all this stuff. As opposed to so many science fiction movies, they're derivative and implausible, and you just can't bring yourself to buy into it, even though it may be entertaining and fun. You know it's not believable. But this one was. I didn't find any fault in it in terms of this, or the plot itself. I thought it was tight and moved along, so no complaints. Back to net, WV50ZL.
WV5OZL, thank you for your insights on that. And let's continue on. KI5 JCM Thomas, what do you think of the plot?
I enjoyed this film. I can't say it's one of my favorites or my all-time, but I did enjoy it. It's very smart in the way they do it. I like the pacing can drag a little bit. I think you could have cropped about 20 minutes out of this movie, and it would still work, but I think some of the boring parts of the plot were meant to be that way, because that way you appreciate the more bang parts. The idea of a virus that rapidly mutates from another world felt more current, given everything we've dealt with COVID, and gain-of-function research and all that. I really like the old man and the child, and just the way the old man conducts himself. That actor was brilliant, and but plot, I think it's an intriguing concept, and science fiction at its very best makes you think. It makes you ponder situations that would never come up in our world, but can very much teach you a deeper understanding about things that are in our world. And Crichton did that extremely well with Andromeda Strain. He actually researched it, and you really find yourself getting into the situation. You identify with the characters, and the resolution bears a lot of resemblance to the original War of the Worlds. Other than that, it's a fairly straightforward plot, but I'll say, it's not my favorite film in the world, but I did enjoy it. And I thought it was well thought out and just intriguing in that it did make me think. And with that, I'll return it to you, Net Control, KI5JCM.
KI5 JCM, yeah, definitely. They did a good job on believability in this, and it's once again, that's Crichton's magic, is that it's just enough sci-fi to be the next step, but at the same time it feels real. It feels like he's really telling something that actually happened, right? Jurassic Park, right? Anyways, let's continue on. N5BB, Bill, what do you think of the plot?
Very fine, Kane. This is N5BB. I liked it. I think this is one of the best science fiction movies ever made. It's up there in the top 5, if you ask me. One thing I will fault it for is it had the very stupid premise right at the very beginning about, this is classified government documents that have been released and all this stuff is true and we're just releasing it now and all that kind of backstory stuff. And I think that's a bunch of hogwash to put out there like that. But the rest of it I thought was very reasonable. It had the standard plot device that's been used in nearly every single science fiction movie, period, of the military people and their chain of command don't do something. They ignore the scientists. So it's scientists versus the military officers. Standard thing. I'm getting tired of it. I hope it'll get too many more movies with that premise. I thought let's see. I thought that the fact that they used a lot of technology, which was kind of new for the time and kind of interesting, that most of the public probably wasn't too familiar with. So they had an infrared camera, night vision camera, and they had a FLIR scan. Did you notice they mentioned doing a FLIR scan? And for those that don't know, FLIR is forward-looking infrared radar, and one of the companies that was very involved with designing and introducing us was Texas Instruments before they sold their DSIC division to Raytheon and some other companies. And they had some other technology that was current for the time. Remember, this is 1971, so this is essentially, late 60s, right at 1970 technology. They had the teletype, which was, high-tech for the time and, showed that kind of stuff occurring. They had one of the top airlines at the time, TWA, that was kind of interesting. They had these hazmat suits that looked very similar to a spacesuit. They talked about, you notice they talked about the lunar receiving lab that was used by Apollo. So they talked about that thing that was very recent in the very recent news. But again, another plot thing I did not like was getting the clock counting down and him having to insert the thing and being so weak, he finally got it turned 30 seconds or whatever before it blew up. I think, again, that's another one of those crazy plot things that they like to put in these movies, and I hate them. I think it's just way too. I think it's a waste of good ability to tell a story. It's a stupid story to tell. There's nothing you're saying. Again, I like the fact that they talked about epilepsy and talked about it being misrepresented in science, in society. Turns out my mom had epilepsy, but it was well treated. When I was a baby, she had an epileptic fit. It was treated with medication. She didn't have any other episodes until she was about 80 years old. So it was but I witnessed when she was about 80, I was there when she had a test, and sure enough, it was a flashing light test, and they varied the light frequency, and you saw where it peaked, just like that. And that's exactly what happens. And she went catatonic a couple of times. That's why they gave her the test. So that was done very well, actually. I like the fact that there was a science team. It's good to show a team of science because this kind of science is really a team project. I also like the fact that one of the key things in the whole movie was a baby's cry. You know, that little way they presented that was very good, and it made the movie much more interesting. That's all I got for now. Inside BB.
N5AB, this is K5A&E, net control for the Optical Movie Net. And, yeah, I have to say, this was actually I saw this movie as a small child, and this was my first exposure to, having seizures based on the idea of blinking lights, and that was just such an alien concept to me originally. And, yeah, it's really pretty interesting, and they do a good job showing that, and yeah. Let's continue on. KI5KMQ, Dawson. I guess you haven't seen this movie, but have you heard of it, or just give your opinion on Michael Crichton, or whatever you want to say? This is your turn. KI5KMQ.
No, I have not heard of the movie Before the Net. So far what I've heard is enticing, and my wife and I have added it to our list of things we're going to look at very soon. And, you know, even though we're getting a lot of detail, we'd rather hear the detail and know that there's a good movie to be watched than worry about any kind of spoilers or anything like that, because we're adults now. And, you know, I appreciate you guys, all of y'all, putting in your 2 cents on it, and we're going to watch it and kind of see what we think. KI5KMQ, thanks for holding the net.
Absolutely. Feel free to check it out, and feel free to continue checking on our nets, and feel free to continue listening. We'll definitely tell you what we think of it. Let's continue on here. KG5BZW, Jay, what do you think of the plot?
KG5BZW. Yeah, I like the plot. I know there's a lot you can say about it. In order to not be, you know, I'm sure there's others that have already said, you know, other things I probably could have said. I kind of wanted to focus on some interesting side aspects. It's not really the plot, but it's just how more movie-related dynamics. What to say? I like the way when there is something kind of tedious, boring, possibly boring, but you know, not entirely implausible, you know, some kind of tool manipulation, whatever. You always got the announcements in the background, which sometimes have some relevance and sometimes do not. It's always kind of interesting to see if some of the next bit of the plot is going to be revealed in what's being announced, or if it's just kind of something that's just to distract. And I kind of like that. I thought that part was kind of well done. There's other parts that I've heard been mentioned that are either, you know, well done, or, you know, I have to admit, I agree that the whole chase scene, the climax, they had to do something to kind of have a bit of action and you know, do all that, but it's still kind of silly. But it's not perfect. The I don't know. It's a little bit implausible to me that something could require such specific pH that you know, is necessary to function, and that everybody in the town except for a few of those individuals had, were unlucky enough to have had the perfect pH for it. I believe the actual blood pH could be a little bit wider than that. Normal would just start working out. You need to, well, I'm no expert here. Anyway, there's, I like the whole device itself that they used. I just don't know that it was as it works as well as they actually described it. But anyway, I've already gone too far, so I'll hand it over to the next person, KG5EZW, back to that.
KG5BZW, I do have to say, it is a little bit ridiculous that it's just like, oh yeah, just breathe really hard, and suddenly it doesn't really affect you in its current form, and then suddenly, oh, well actually, never mind, it's evolved past that now. Yeah, I do acknowledge that is a little bit, cheesy in a way, and a lot of luck, right, in their plot. Yeah, let's continue on, and let's see, pick another name out of the hat here. Let's go WT9V. We haven't heard from you in a while here on this net. What do you think of the plot?
Yeah, thank you. I didn't have much in the way of a problem with the plot. I am watching it again. I haven't finished watching it again. But I think it's a really good plot. I think it works well. It is well thought out. Of course, Michael Crichton. That's just kind of the way he does things. I'm not sure whether I liked the book better or the movie better. They weren't quite the same. Are there any movies that are the same as the books? But they were both very good. And to address Jay's point about blood pH, typically blood pH is in a very narrow range, or you have all sorts of other problems. And like if your pH is a little too acidic, then you tend to breathe very heavily, which is what your body's trying to get rid of the extra carbon dioxide that it thinks is there. And if your pH is low, then you don't have much of a respiratory drive. So, of course, crying constantly would tend to drive it low. And, so there's a fair amount of actual science in there, in the fact that most people's pH is within a very narrow range. So I could see that. And anyway, as was mentioned earlier, some of the science is kind of dated. Of course, they were trying to make it look science fiction-y at the time, and it did at the time. But I think the story still holds out really well. WT9V.
WT9V, thanks for your insight, and I would definitely take WT9V's insights on blood pH. From what I recall, it's definitely it's kind of hard to push that value too far to one extreme or the other without having some pretty significant problems. So it's as far as it, but then again, it's still kind of the plot device as far as that it exists and only really thrives in the same pH as our normal blood chemistry, and if we get just a little bit out of it, suddenly this thing can't survive, and it's this weird crystalline thing that's unlike anything we've ever experienced. I don't know. Anyways, let's continue on. KE5ICX, Tom, what do you think of the plot?
All right, thank you, Kane, and thanks for doing the net this evening. I love this plot. All right, I got to tell you, in junior high school, I came across this book when it was a book, and I picked it up and I read it, and I thought, this thing is really amazing. It had with it kind of the techno thing going with it that really mattered to me. And so, teletype and everything else at the time was kind of like the thing going on. And I know that's a low barrier today, but that was important to me in the sense that, like, we have all this technology, and I got it all around me, and it still applies. And that is that somehow or another we're connected. We have information going on. So what happens in a pandemic? How do you handle something that could easily get out of control? Well, we dealt with that for the last year, but this movie and this story kind of says, how do you handle it? What do you do? And who are the people involved? And I thought what was really cool about the thing was that people who were really smart were forced into figuring out what to do next. And ultimately, they weren't exactly sure. They were trying to figure it out. And in this case, communication was messed up. Let me reset. Communications was messed up because of the fact that the ding-a-ling didn't work. The ring didn't work on the teletype machine. Guess what? We still deal with that today. The worst part of any, in this case, pandemic or this whole thing happening is that something breaks down in communications with all of the technology, everything working, and somehow the ding-a-ling doesn't work. In the end, no, don't think that way. In the end, if you can't master this mechanism going on, which is this virus thing, and you can't overcome it, you're going to be succumbed from that same thing, that unthinking thing. That's what I got out of this, first and foremost, as far as plot. And that's really one of the things that you got to think about going forward. Is this sort of thing can happen at any time, any place. We had it happen over the last year, and it could happen again. It could happen next year. It could happen at any time. But in this case, I think this movie really encapsulated and literally, really, with what the five levels of that is that it encapsulates what could happen and how, even in the best prepared circumstances, things can go wrong. Things can go right, certainly, but this one suggests that things go wrong, and then they escape with the skin of by the skin of their teeth, and because of the evolving virus and becoming less viral and killing people. I loved it. I really do. This movie, I haven't seen it in years, but I absolutely thought this thing is poignant. It works. Michael Crichton is a medical doctor, was a medical doctor, and he managed to create this wonderful, scary, but completely realistic story. Okay, that's enough for me. KE5I6.
KE5ICX, this is K5A&E, net control of the Afterfield Movie Net here on W5FC, where we're talking about the Andromeda Strain. Quite an awesome Michael Crichton sci-fi movie from the 1970s. And yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's interesting too that so many of his novels and books just kind of talk about this, you know, despite man's best intentions on containing the wild, it ends up escaping anyways. And, you know, I mean, you see Jurassic Park, you see this. There's a lot of parallels between that and that whole core narrative there. And, yeah, I really think the bureaucracy is a major narrative point on this, on the plot. Let's continue on. KG5, PMN, James, what do you think of the plot?
This is KG5PMN, James up here in Oklahoma. I thought the plot was pretty good. It had a nice flow to it. I don't know what other comments mostly I could add about the plot that haven't already been said. One fact I think they, in my opinion, that they got wrong was when the fighter pilot called the Albuquerque Center and reported that he was having problems. I think Smithsonian on one of their air disaster it was about the aircraft accidents. I think they pointed out that the military actually never really contacted up to a certain point in time until the FAA got involved, that they actually ever contacted civilian centers as they were flying cross country. And also, about 8 years later, Stephen King came out with a similar book called The Stand, where the U.S. government is doing something, if I remember correctly, is doing something with the virus, and it gets loose, and it actually goes across the country instead of just evidently a little isolated area, more of an isolated area that this movie sounded like. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
KG5PMN, yeah, definitely. It's always interesting how it always ends up in some weird place in, you know, Nevada, as far as where is the absolute middle of nowhere. You'd think it'd be someplace in Texas, you know, driving around the highways here. Yeah, let's continue on. N5HYP, Tom and Irving, what do you think of the plot?
Hey, this is N5HYP. Okay, very good. And this is going to be my only round here. I've got to get up early in the morning, so I'll just make my comments and you can skip me for later rounds. I always have liked the movie. The plot, I remember reading the book in high school as well. Thought it was really pretty good. Michael Crichton, of course, his pedigree on future works. Bill mentioned you're kind of not liking the trope at the beginning of kind of trying to talk about the fact that this was, you know, this is a real deal, and the truth is finally now coming out. You find that in a number of Crichton's works. If you ever read his novel, the original novel of Jurassic Park, basically did 3 or 4 chapters, kind of creating a real-sounding history of genetic of the cloning concept that became the basis of Jurassic Park. So by the time he got around to that point, he had really taken you know, this is just a government thing, and now we get to know about it, and created a whole fictional but plausible-sounding kind of web of history. Anyways. Why is it doing that? I couldn't figure out why I was getting noise when I was transmitting. No, it's a good movie. I do, unfortunately, I think my memories of it, remember, I didn't see it this time around, but my memory of it is that there was
was, hold on, I know why. There we go. I had something pressed wrong on this radio. Anyway, my memory of it was that it was a good plot. It was intriguing. I was a little disappointed by how it ended, that the virus just kind of mutates and goes away. And yeah, you're left with the, well, what happens the next time? But I felt after all the science and all the stuff that they did, the fact that it just kind of disappeared and went off the radar was a little bit disappointing, but that's, you know, I guess that was the best outcome that could be had in that situation. So, kudos to Michael Crichton for a good bibliography of lots of books that take science and kind of weave some good fiction with it. We'll take the fact that he was behind ER, and ER was probably the first medical drama that really took hospital life and dealt with it in a realistic framework. So, kudos to Michael Crichton and this movie. I'm back to net, and I'm done for the night. This is N5HYP. Bye-bye, everybody.
N5HYP, this is K5ANE, net control for the Afterglow Movie Net. And yeah, I got you marked down here as a one-timer here, and thanks for checking in and sharing what you think of the movie. Yeah, let's continue on. KB9SOK, John, what do you think of the plot?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, as everybody said, it's a really good plot. It was a good movie overall. It just shows what you can do. It's obviously a really good script and really good actors. And I'm guessing this movie had a pretty decent budget. That they definitely showed off with the sets and the gadgets, and for the time was pretty high tech. And I know the kind of point they were getting there at the beginning, they were trying to show just, you know, the science of, you know, make sure they're bacteria free and all that. But I feel that was maybe the only real weak part of the movie was just they spent 30 minutes getting to level 5. But I get the point. They were trying to show up the technology and the extremes that you should take if you're obviously going to investigate something like this. Other than that, it was just really solid. You know, the part that I apologize if somebody's already mentioned this, is that I thought was interesting that maybe not been mentioned yet is the whole idea of the bacteria living on a piece of asteroid or from outer space. For that time, I thought it was really forward thinking because in that time frame, if I'm correct, science, a lot of the science community didn't believe bacteria could live out in raw space. And after the experiments they've done on the space station, they've now found out that it can. In some cases, even thrive. So it does prove that there is that potential there, and now there are many that believe that possibly worlds are seeded by bacteria on asteroids traveling through space. So I thought that was interesting that he had the forward thinking of thinking of that kind of a plot. So yeah, overall, really good. Enjoyed it a lot. This is KB9SOK, back to net control.
KB9SOK, thanks for your thanks for sharing your opinions. And yeah, once again, this is K5ANE, net control for the Afterglow Movie Net. Here where we're talking about the Michael Crichton movie, the Andromeda Strain. If you'd like to check in with the net, come on in with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, and if you saw the movie.
AD5 BPX, Whiskey Delta 5, Baker Papa, X-ray. Now, I did see the movie. Looks like everybody's covered almost all the points, though, so I don't have anything to add.
Alrighty, I heard Whiskey 5, Bravo Papa X-Ray. Once again, give me a correction on that. I missed your name and where you're transmitting from. You saw the movie, but you didn't want to share anything else?
Well, like I say, everybody pretty well covered all the main points. And that call was Whiskey, Delta 5, Baker, Papa, X-Ray. I'm in Wolf Point, Texas. Have seen the movie. But, also, a comment there that trying to get into the repeater on 2 meters is a problem for me. My antenna's not high enough, and I don't have enough power, so I just barely hit it. Wanted to be in for the count tonight. Deputy 5 BPX, back to net control.
Okay. I got you down here. Yes, you were probably at station trying to check in earlier. With WD5 BPX, I got you marked down here, and I'll check in you a couple other times if you got any other notes, especially after other people have gone on other sections, talking about characterizations and any other things we have to say about the movie, especially since you've seen the movie. And yeah, this is my time to shine as net control, giving my opinions on the movie. Overall, this is definitely one of my favorite sci-fi movies, especially because it's such a believable movie that this is something that could have happened, you know, and they start off, I mean, even from the beginning of this movie, they're really setting it up all the way to the credits as far as this you know, I don't know, industrial, bureaucratic, kind of jarring noise and weird text scrolling across the screen and control systems and bam, bam going on, you know, I mean, and then at the very end it's just end program and silence, and it's well done and well designed, and it's really great in so many different ways. And you know, when I first saw this movie as a young child, I didn't realize who Michael Crichton was. I didn't know this was by a Michael Crichton. I knew Michael Crichton from Jurassic Park and everything else, but it never connected with me until tonight. And so, yeah, I mean, and there's so many parallels, too, between Jurassic Park and this movie as far as the idea of, you know, man trying to control nature and, you know, ultimately nature finds a way. And it's, gosh, it's such an incredible movie. And honestly, in my opinion, it even exceeds Jurassic Park as far as that kind of idea, especially because, I mean, one of the main themes I feel in this entire plot is bureaucracy and machine, and we're juxtaposing this thoughtless, crystalline, you know, not a virus, not anything like that, just extraterrestrial organism, this crystalline organism, and where it's a machine. It takes carbon-based things and energy and turns it into more of Andromeda, and you know, and we start off talking about this idea of, you know, it's all this extreme bureaucracy, extreme machine, extreme just, you know, this is men with guns show up and say, hey, we need you. Okay, yeah, don't ask questions. Yeah, we have a wildfire going on, and yep, absolutely, okay, I do this. This is my function. This is what I do. And, you know, at the end there, we find humanity breaking the mold. We're supposed to let the bomb go off in this kind of scheme, but in the end, we fight the machine and we do what we feel should be right, despite the fact that the book says it's not what we should do. And ultimately, that's what I think a lot of Michael Crichton's things are in a way that kind of idea. Yeah. anyways, that's my thoughts on the plot. Once again, this is K5A&E, and net control for the Afterglow Movie Net. Here we're talking about the Andromeda Strain. And let's continue on to round 2. Once again, this is round 2, where we talk about the characterization. What do we think of the characters in this? Are they believable? Are they fake? Are they wonderful, amazing, flat? Whatever you want to say. Let's jump around here as well, and let's go to Brenda, WB5OZL. What do you think of the characters?
This is WB5OZL. Well, I thought they were excellent. Especially liked Ruth. She was hysterical, and just real no nonsense and dry wit. And the others, I thought were, they were all different, but they were believable. I thought they were believable as scientists, and of course, bureaucrats were certainly believable as bureaucrats. So, one of the things that did bother me is the death of the little monkey. They claim, well, we didn't hurt this monkey. No, they didn't. What they did is they put him in an airtight room, that's the set, and they filled it with carbon dioxide until he suffocated. And he got almost to death, and then a vet rushed in and gave him oxygen to revive him, and that's their idea of not hurting him. I think maybe they should volunteer to see what it's like before they do it to an animal. I was pretty offended by that. So, that's about all I have to say about characters. Back to net, WB5OZL.
WB5OZL, this is K5A&E, net control for the Afterglow Movie Net. And we'll continue on and go on with November Tango 5, Tango Mike. What do you think of the characterization? November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony, what do you think of the characterization? This is K5A&E.
I'm sorry about that. We got distracted looking things up. In general, I think we both thought that the characters fit extremely well. I even kind of liked the tension between the scientists in the military, because that turned out to be productive. The right answer really was to do nothing as the organism mutated. This movie marked a wonderful transition even between the atomic bomb as savior and the atomic bomb as a questionable tool. So it was nice that the slow-moving bureaucracy prevented the scientists from inadvertently doing something, whoopsie, that would have been a little bit too extreme with those atomic bombs in the Directive 712. Aaron especially did like the female scientist, thought she was very no-nonsense. She did have a moment of rueful laughter when the old man who they saved, who was the sterno drinker, made a quip about, oh, you're a nurse, I can't even see your legs, and everyone smiles. And Aaron chuckled and said, see, sexual harassment is fun. It was definitely of its period, but everyone was just so believable. And the tension between even the different stereotypes with the scientists and the military did seem to play out well in the end. NT5TM.
NT5TM, this is K5A&E, net control for the Afterglow Movie Net. And yeah, let's continue on. Once again, we're talking about the characterization of the Andromeda Strain. Let's jump around here. KG5 BZW, Jay in Weatherford, what do you think of the characters?
Well, this is KG5 BZW. Yeah, it's basically it's kind of funny. I didn't really think about it until I thought about the characters. It's really kind of the whole. We kind of follow the formula of a procedural where everybody kind of just does their jobs, but it's because the way that the story is told around how people do their jobs, that's what makes the movie interesting. So, it's everybody that was selected for their characters and how they play their characters. I agree. I don't know that there's things anybody could have done any better. The people were not robotic. Well, I mean, except for maybe if you were your cuts or whatever. But those you got the normal spectrum of wide spectrum of behaviors. Let's just say that, or at least that's my opinion. So you got the more human side, but especially with the nurse and well, I mean, yeah, the old man and sexual harassment, whatever. I guess human, if you want to call sexual harassment human. But anyway, yeah, no, it all works really well. I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you for having me.
KG5 BZW, this is K5A&E, net control for the Afterglow Movie Net, and let's go ahead and jump to another random choice here, and KI5 JCM, Thomas, what did you think of the characters?
KI5 JCM here. Well, I didn't want any of them to die, which is better than most sci-fi films. They pulled off characters pretty well. If I was nitpicking, some of this cues into plot points. The only place they could go to defuse the atomic bomb is going through the isolation ward. But overall, like I said, I don't have any super deep thoughts. I didn't want any of them to die painfully or anything like that. So that's something. KI5 JCM.
KI5 JCM, I feel the same way. That even extends to this net. I really hope nobody in this net dies painfully today. But let's continue on. Let's go to N5BB. What do you think of characterization?
Thank you, Kane. This is N5BB. I thought it was pretty good. I like the dynamic between the people there. I like the fact that they brought in this idea of the odd person out, the fact that Dr. Mark Hill was the odd man out. And evidently, my guess is that this had been discussed in public with regards to picking the people that control the nuclear launch sites for missile silos in the U.S. I don't know that for sure, but my guess is it probably was. So that was something that was probably in the public, domain, being thought about at the time. But I thought that was a good kind of point. I like the stress between him and Dr. Ruth Levitt, and I thought all the actors did a good job. Kate Reed was the cranky woman doctor that was tired, overworked, workaholic, but she had this critical weakness, which was the epilepsy, which was just a medical problem. And I think it was a good kind of, plot devices in there. You had Paula Kelly, the nurse that played Karen Anson. Dr. Charles Dutton, who was David Wayne, the actor. I've seen him in many other things. These are pretty good actors in this. And he played the older doctor that was kind of retired, semi-retired, or I want to say doctor, biochemist, I guess. And was very conservative and no, don't experiment on me in here. Arthur Hill is Dr. Jeremy Stone. He played in many things. He played the stable, stalwart, the person you can go to, kind of the dependable person. And he was good at presenting that kind of personality on the screen. So I think that was a really good casting choice. Anyway, I like the casting. I think it was good. I like the characterization. N5BB.
N5EV, this is K580, net control for the Astro Movie Net here on W5FC. Let's continue on and go ask KG5PMN. James, what did you think of the characterization?
KG5PMN. I thought the characterization was pretty good. I didn't see anybody that really, I guess, stood out except for maybe the old man and his attitude. In the beginning that he was, I don't want to talk to you at all, and then he kind of eventually loosened up. But I didn't have really that much of an issue with anybody in there. I think everybody kind of did what their job training led them to do, and did everything properly on it. I'll send it back to the net, KG5PMN.
KG5PMN, thanks for sharing. Let's go on and jump around here. KI5KMQ, Dawson, what do you think of the characterization? KI5KMQ, are you out there? What do you think of the characterization? Alrighty, we'll give you another shot here in a few minutes. KI5KMQ, let's continue on here. KE5ICX, Tom, what do you think of characterization? Oh no, I guess the Andromeda Strain got out here. KE5ICX, Tom, what do you think of the characters of this movie? And don't tell me this is real life happening right now.
Somebody go take the little sliver of paper out of Tom's bell.
Well, at least someone's listening. WT9V, what do you think of the characterization?
I don't have anything very insightful to say. I thought that most of them were pretty good. I thought they were pretty much all pretty good. I don't know. I didn't... This was one of those movies where things didn't get in the way of me just getting into the story. I didn't really dislike any of the characters. I didn't really, really like any of the characters per se. They were there. They did their part. They fulfilled their part of the story, I thought. I didn't, I don't know. It's just they worked, I think, is my feeling. Other people are going to have more insightful comments about the various aspects of it, but I thought they were a nice part of the machine that was the story, and they fit in and did their parts well. That's all I got to say. So I'll say back to that WT9V.
WT9V, thanks for sharing your opinions on the characterization. Let's continue on here. I'll try reaching out again. Well, I guess, let's jump to somebody else. N5HYP, Tom and Irving. What do you think of the characterization? Okay, this is starting to get spooky, guys. KB9SOK, John in Fort Worth. What do you think of the characterization?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I was very tempted not to respond to you just to spook you out more, but didn't want to do that to you. I really don't have a lot to add on the characterization. It, as everybody said, it was very well acted, and they were very believable. I really did feel like they were really scientists, and and obviously the bureaucrats did their part of it. It was just, once again, it's just one of those solid movies where we had a good script and some really good actors, and without that, you're not going to have a good movie. So, yeah, I don't think anyone stood out more than the other. So, as the previous gentleman said, it was really well balanced and just very believable. So, yeah, really good. And just kind of add a note to the first part is, yeah, it was nice for once to see that we had a science fiction film where we didn't use a nuclear device to save the day. And two, it was also nice, too. Now it seems like the more modern movies, we got to kill off either all the characters except for one, or at least one character. So it is nice to see that everybody survived, and they obviously didn't have to do that. They could have let the one doctor go, but I'm glad they didn't, to be quite honest, because it's kind of nice to see them all survive. That's really all I got. Back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
Alrighty, this is K5A&E net control for the Afternoon Movie Net, and we'll continue on. WD5 BPX, Bob and Willis Point. What do you think of the characters?
I think that it was pretty good the way they did their characters. My favorite character was the old man, though, and the way he survived. And I just thought it was pretty good. Everybody else, like, it's coming in late in the game here. What I say is a little late. So everybody's pretty well depicted those characters like they should be. All right, back to net control.
Alrighty, KI5 KMQ Dawson, which is a characterization.
No comment. Haven't seen it before. You probably hit me on the next round, but I'm looking forward to informative opinions. Thank you guys for your input. Y'all have a good evening. KI5 KMQ.
Okay, one more time here. KE5ICX, Tom, you out there? You listening? We see here on the stream. What do you think of characterizations? Alrighty, I guess nothing heard. Let's continue on here. And so now we're on to, I guess I should give my opinion of the characterization here. Once again, this is K5A&E Net Control in the Afternoon Movie Net. We're talking about the Andromeda Strain. If anybody else would like to check in and talk about this movie, or just, whatever you think about sci-fi movies in general, or weird virus things from space, whatever you want to say, come on in with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, and if you saw the movie or not. Once again, this is K5A&E Net Control, the Afternoon Movie Net. If you'd like to talk about the movie, come on in with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from, and if you saw the movie or not. Alright, nothing heard. I have to say, somebody else remarked earlier about the idea that a lot of these people weren't young people, and that's super awesome. I fully agree with you on that aspect of it, that it takes a while to be at the top of your game in whatever it is your game. It makes sense that a lot of these, top scientist people are not necessarily old. They're not super old. They're not super young, and they have their own faults and issues, and their own wants, desires. I mean, it's definitely interesting. Like the ragtag group of scientists here that end up, saving the day ish, I guess, in the end, if you would really say that. And once again, that also kind of continues on with Jurassic Park. I mean, a lot of people there weren't super young, at least in my young person recollection of the film, it's definitely super cool to see that the people involved aren't just super young, handsome, beautiful people solving all the world's problems. Let's continue on here. So we're on to round 3. So this is literally anything you'd like to talk about, probably focusing on special effects, but just about anything you'd really care to talk about here on this movie, the Andromeda Strain, here on W5OC, the Afternoon Movie Net. We'll pick a random person here, and we'll start with KI5KMQ, Dawson. What do you think of the special effects, or what else do you think about it?
I'm excited to see what they are. Like I said, I'm interested in seeing how if there are any space scenes, how they show lack of gravity, and also just kind of see what their protective equipment looked like back, when they made the movie as compared to what everybody had available here for the current pandemic. So like I said, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm excited to turn it back over to Net Control, KI5KMQ.
Alrighty, let's continue on. WB5OZL, what do you think of the special effects?
WB5OZL, I thought they were pretty good, especially the microscopic stuff with the alien. I liked all the different airplanes. I am troubled by the one-seater F4. Maybe they do exist. I've never heard of one, but I didn't understand that. It would have been just as easy to have one with 2 seats. Let's see. What else? What this is a story of people using their brains and figuring out a problem And I think about our own space program, how much of that is, everything was just going to heck in a handbasket if these people hadn't figured out the problem. But like the paper and the teletype, you think about the strange things that have happened in our space program. It's always the unexpected stuff that gets you. Anything else? Just really like this movie. Oh, one more thing. Some interesting thing. There are some people who believe that COVID-19 came from space. I haven't actually read their articles, so I don't know what their apparent evidence is. But in 1918, when that virus came along, there was a theory at the time that it had come in on a comet. So it's just a real common theme, I think. All right, back to net, WB50ZL.
Alrighty, once again, this is K580, net control to the Optical Movie Net. Final thoughts going on to N5BB, Bill and Irving.
Thank you, Kane. This is N5BB. Well, I got to mention one name, Douglas Trumbull. He was one of the people, I think he wasn't in charge, but involved with the special effects. And of course, he's known for a number of other, 2001: A Space Odyssey and many other science fiction and other movies as a special effects, as a director, etc. I thought that the use of medical and scientific and technology was pretty good in this movie. They used it. It looked realistic. In fact, they used real stuff in many places. The technical terms they use seem to be real. By the way, the range of pHs in the blood is very realistic. That really is the right range for not have problems. And my brother right now, who had a lung transplant a year and a half ago, one of the reasons he's in the hospital now is the pH of his blood was getting to be on the edge, and they decided it was better to control him in the hospital. So that is a major issue, is your blood pH. And, there were a few special effects. I like the one, which I thought was very realistic and rather icky, of the doctor cutting the arm, the wrist area on that person, and dried blood coming out. And then when they were going in to be, at one point when they pushed the button to be for all the organisms to be cleaned off them, to be decontaminated, there was kind of this bright glow, kind of a electric arcing kind of glow. I think all those were done good enough and everything. So there weren't a huge number of special effects, but I thought they were fine. I thought the use of sound and everything early in the movie was good, and in some other places, sound. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the baby crying, that was a great special effect, really. And I guess that's all. Again, I think for the time it was made, which remember was 50 years ago, exactly 50 years ago, I thought the movie was really pretty good and pretty scientific and very realistic. And a little bit of something to think about in this last year with the COVID thing, and nearly 600,000 people dead in the U.S. So we look at something like this, and we look at them talking about huge numbers of people passing away. Well, yeah, this COVID-19 thing killed, 600,000 people in just a year. So think about. Thank you, Habibi.
N5BB, this is K5A&E, net control for the Optical Movie Net. And with Elvis leaving the building, I'd like to remind people the normal timeout timer exists on here, so be sure you think about resetting when you're sharing your final thoughts here. And we'll continue on. Once again, we're talking about the Andromeda Strain here, and we'll jump to KG5PMN. James, final thoughts on the movie.
This is KG5PMN. I thought the special effects were fairly good in the movie. Point out the comment about the book in the movie that was earlier made. I read Stephen King's book, Christine, and then it was 1982, and watched the movie a year or so later while the book was still fresh, and I hated the movie. But then I got to realizing the way the book is written, and probably this book was written also, special effects could not be actually accomplished with what they had at the time. Christine had combined a bunch of special effects in Christine to make it one scene instead of separate things over a little bit longer period of time, and they couldn't accomplish what they wanted. The way the book was written, they couldn't accomplish it with what the technology in the movie was nowadays. And the decontamination, the bright light decontamination, into 2014, we used, I'm not real sure of what it was, but I believe it was some type of ultraviolet radiation. And when we got in the MRSA and the VRE rooms, when we get patients that had those two bacterial infections, housekeeping would come in and set up a ultraviolet radiation thing to sterilize the rooms, and it had to sit there for like 45 minutes to an hour. And I think it just emitted a bright purple light. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
KG5PMN, this is K5A&E, and let's continue on talking about final thoughts here on the Andromeda Strain. Let's jump to WT9V. Final thoughts.
Oh, thoughts. Just for James, you're thinking about UVC actually, typically ultraviolet UVC, because UVA and UVB are what's in sunlight and they don't do much, but UVC is what is invisible and has enough energy to disrupt DNA and sterilize things. So yeah, that's the thing. I don't know at this point. I think it was. I liked it. I liked the movie a lot. Yes, as was mentioned earlier, some of the technology is dated, but so I mean, I can't. I want to say that they redid the movie at one point. I don't remember whether I watched it, but I think what I'd read was about the remake was that it just wasn't as good as the original. Anyway, I'll toss it back to that WT9V.
WT9V, this is K5A&E, net control for the Optical Movie Net. And let's continue on here. I think KI5JCM, we haven't asked you for your final thoughts. What'd you think? Once again, KI5JCM, if you're there, final thoughts on the movie. All right, continuing on. November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Final thoughts.
W5FC.
Well, the effects were certainly of their time. There was an overuse of colored lights to represent things. They sure loved colored lights in the 70s. Ooh, the screen turned green. Something must have happened. That was not, didn't ruin the movie for me. It was just something of its time. Something that was interesting about the effects in this movie, though, that was even older than its time, this is the science fiction movie that Eisenstein would have loved. Yes, the old Soviet director with the German name who gave us the battleship Potemkin and who invented the idea of telling it in the cut. Whenever something awkward happened in this movie, there was a big cut. They were supposed to be these, people in environmental suits climbing back up to a helicopter. How in heck were they going to do that on those little ladders? Just have a cut. And that same trend kept going through the movie. There was a very consistent and clever use of cuts to get over things that were tedious or awkward. So I was impressed with all the things they decided not to film. I thought that basically amounted to an effect. The movie was draggy in spots, but it would have been even worse had they shown us all the things they left out, and they did a very good job of just not filming those parts. So I liked that. That might have even been my favorite effect in the movie, the cuts. NT5TM.
NT5TM, I definitely agree with you. They definitely decided to not explain a lot of things by just jumping around. And let's continue on. KG5 BZW, final thoughts.
KG5 BZW. I don't want to be particular about the blood pH thing, but it was accurately described in terms of what the organism could survive. But what my original point was that what's considered normal is a little bit wider than what the organism could survive, and 7.35 to 7.45 is considered normal. Of course, the edges of normal might still not be great, but anyway. And the effects, yeah, it was great, and for the time, I love the. Somebody else mentioned the sand blood flowing from the arms. That's just going to be one of those things I'm going to remember from this film. It's just you don't see that, but it's portrayed so authentically. Let's put it that way. That it's like, oh, that is weird. you just every single time I see that it's yeah, that shock of seeing that it's just kind of it's definitely well done. Yeah, there's a little bit. Oh, I feel like I'm recycling points others have said about maybe the focusing a little bit on the tech at the time and blah blah blah, but I don't know. The sound effects, I don't know if anybody's really said much about. I thought it complimented what was the score, not just the sound effects of the score. I thought it worked pretty well too. Not much terribly memorable from it, but the what you might call music and sound effects and whatever seemed to complement what you were seeing on the screen very well. That's all I got. So
KG5BZW, back to that.
KG5BZW, yeah, I definitely agree with you. They did a good job, like, really immersing you in it. And the special effects, although, like, I mean, it's all largely just environmental as far as just building good sets. They really did a good job making it seem like they were, you know, in this deep underground bunker, and, you know, I mean, it really seemed believable in how they phrased it and the way they presented it. Let's continue on here. KB9 SOK, John, final thoughts?
Yeah, this is KB9 SOK. Yeah, the special effects, I do agree with everybody else. Very good for the time. You know, a lot of them are very practical effects, which is always nice. You know, the sets were very well built, nothing with cardboard or anything like that. And obviously they spent a lot of time showing that off, but it really did help make you believe it was really a real place. So that was, I thought, very well done. Yeah, and I agree with the sounds. Yeah, the sounds were adequate. Nothing really special, but it was just what was needed. It didn't really need any over-the-top scores or anything like that. So, yeah, no, I'll go ahead and send it back to net control. This is KB9 SOK.
KB9 SOK, this is K5A&E, net control for the Optical Movie Net, where we're still talking about the Andromeda Strain. WD5 BPX, final thoughts on the movie?
Well, I find scary about this. We've seen lots of movies based on this sort of scenario. Then I watch real life. We've got this pandemic going on now, and what they've done to try to control it. And even after these doomsday type movies and that sort of thing, we seem to repeat mistakes in our real world that could lead to these scenarios. So it's kind of scary. We might actually create or have a situation like they depict in these movies. And this, so I guess I find this sort of thing scary, in the idea that it could really happen. It's scarier than the zombie movies and that sort of stuff. Science fiction, they can come up with scary scenarios, even though we entertain ourselves with them. I think we might be able to learn something from our science fiction, but I don't think we do. Anyway, not a whole lot to say. Back to net control.
WD5 PPX, or BPX, this is K5A&E, net control for the Optical Movie Net, where we're talking about Andromeda Strain. And I think, we got one more here. I'll try reaching out to him again. KI5JCM, KI5JCM, Thomas, still out there? If so, final thoughts on the movie? Nothing heard. And once more, I guess, we skipped them a couple of rounds. KE5ICX, Tom. If you're anywhere nearby, Tom, KE5ICX, final thoughts on the movie?
W5FC.
Well, Kane, I'm sorry. I think I missed a round or two. I did fall asleep. I didn't get my nap earlier today. This movie is very timely, and it was mentioned earlier, just recently too, about pandemics and what happens, and I think we had to deal with this in very real ways over the last year. I guess I'm not sure exactly what to say on all that, but this happens. This sort of thing happens, and I think that this movie kind of brought it back, even though, it's 50 years old, but it is something that occurs from time to time, and it will probably happen again. It doesn't necessarily have to happen from outer space when we reset. It happens here, and it happens with us in the real time. And in this case, they were trying to produce and show kind of this high-tech thing that was going to happen, and how it was all going to make, we're all going to make it work out. And in this case, no, we couldn't make it work out because things break down, things go wrong. And eventually, ultimately, what happened was, in this case, this virus multiplied and changed in such a way that it became inert, which was to our benefit. And if you remember, it's sort of a reverse of War of the Worlds, that in the end, what saved mankind was the fact that the aliens ended up being unable to stand what was going on and die. In this case, on the other hand, that mankind was able to survive because the changes in the alien instead, rather than the other way around. I thought it was kind of interesting in a reverse projection of what happened. All right, that's it. I have to say, I fell asleep. I haven't done this in a while, but I didn't get my nap today. I'm sorry to everybody, and it's been a long day and long night, I guess. Long morning now, 12:18. I'll say 7-3, everybody. Thanks. And I'll continue to listen for as long as I can. Bye-bye. It's KE5I6.
KE5ICX, this is K5A&E, and no worries, you're the absolute last one here so far on the net, and just my final thoughts here, and it's interesting. I didn't really think about it in the whole tie to War of the Worlds, and it's definitely interesting how he kind of tied it into that same idea as far as, ultimately it's something of nature that ends up beating the alien intruders than it is, something humanity does. And I'd have to say, ultimately it's this whole idea of, the best laid plan. You step in the ring and your best laid plan falls apart the moment the punch hits your face. It's definitely shows you that as far as, this bureaucracy had this whole idea of what's going to happen when we encounter this and it escapes, and well, actually, wait, never mind. If we did our plan, it would just accelerate the issue and cause more problems. And, and the whole idea of the political mess of, trying to get the president to sign off on a nuclear, authorization strike in the mainland, and, and the political mess ultimately kind of saves the day-ish, I guess. And there's a lot of what-ifs on this. And let me reset. And it really goes to show, it's the mess of nature that ultimately prevails in this. And, that's kind of the whole idea of, at least a lot of Michael Crichton's most popular novels is, you can try and plan and design all kinds of fences and gates and things like that, but ultimately, things are going to do whatever things are going to do. And, you just have to learn and respond and react to it. And, excellent movie. I love this movie, one of my favorites. Once again, this is K5E&E Net Control for the Afterglow Movie Net. We meet here every week talking about usually sci-fi movies, and next week's movie is going to be KE5ICX. What is it?
I'm looking. I think it's 222, not room 222, which you probably don't even know what that is. Hang on a second, I'll tell you what it is, but I think it's 2:222. Hang on.
Seems like too many twos to me.
Yeah, no kidding. Hold on. I think I got it. I got to move all these chat things out of the way and everything else. Well, hold on. It is. Oh, no, wait. No. 222 is 2 weeks from now. The movie next week is in the year 2889. You're going to hate it. From the year 1967. That's the movie. In the year 2889. KE5I6.
Okay, so yeah, let's meet back here again next week, Saturday evening, and we'll talk about in the year 2889. Once again, this is K5ANE. This has been the Afterglow Movie Net here on W5FC. I'll see you guys later, 73.
Thank you, Kane, for doing the movie tonight, and we'll see you next week. If I'll mention this, if anybody would like to find out what next week's movie is anytime, just send an email to KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray at yahoo.com. So you want to be involved, you want to get updates and all of that, send the email to me, or go to Facebook, and send, what the heck is it? Afterglow Movie. 2 words, Afterglow and Movie. Sorry guys, I didn't get a nap today, and it really shows. 7-3 everybody. Bye-bye.